Welcome to the next episode of the Solo Experience. Today, we're going to be talking a bit about differing in opinions on movies. I find it amazing how different people's views can be from one person to another on the same movie, the same version of it, the same release, the same everything, and how wildly different people's experiences and expectations and viewpoints can be on the same piece of content. So, we're going to talk about that. I'm your host, Ryan, and this is the Solo Experience. Just got back from a home theater tour in Iowa. It was a lot of fun. Went up there with Jonathan, Ryan Kramer, Tim, Sheldon, Grant. I think that was all of us. There was 1, 2, 3, 4. There were 6 of us. So me, Jonathan, Grant, Ryan, Tim, Sheldon. Yeah. Got us all. Enjoyed that. Went up to Iowa. We went up really early on Saturday morning. It was about a 3.5 hour, 3 to 3.5 hour drive. Drove up there. I met up with Jonathan before we left at 5:45, 6. So I left at right around, when did I leave to go up there? 5 a.m. to drive to Jonathan's because he's about a 45-minute drive. So drove out there, met with Jonathan, drove to meet everybody. Then we left. It was about a 2.5 hour drive from where we were. 2.5 to 2 hours and 45 minutes. Got to the first one, did our whole tour thing, came back Sunday night. I think we're going to talk maybe. I'll wait to talk about the tours with Jonathan if we do. It's always fun experiencing other people's rooms, being out with your friends, going on a road trip, that kind of thing to do what you really enjoy. So we saw 5 theaters, I believe. And it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. If you guys ever have the chance to do that in your own locale, I encourage you to do it because it is a lot of fun. Regardless if you enjoy things or not, enjoy life. No, not that, but enjoy the theaters or not. It's just fun to be out with your friends. So I did enjoy them. It was a good time to be with everybody. I'm sure Jonathan and I will talk about them in an upcoming stream. I leave to go out of town on Saturday for about 5 days, taking the kids to Disneyland. So I got that coming. Maybe Jonathan and I can stream on Friday. So we'll see if that comes to fruition. So we did that. I've not really had time to watch any movies since we last talked. I need to watch Hansel and Gretel. That was suggested to me. I need to watch that. Hopefully, I'll have time to watch that today. What does my schedule look like today? Let's see if I have time to do it today. I should. Maybe. I should. I need to be able to watch that. So we should be able to watch that. So whoever suggested it, hopefully I'll have an opinion, which is perfect because that's what today's topic is the differing in opinions on movies. Let's bring up Rotten Tomatoes. Let me look at Rotten Tomatoes. And I want to look at Superman. How did it? Okay, this is a perfect example, actually, of differing opinions, mainly from my opinion and Jonathan's opinion. But let's bring this up. So you have this. This is the new Superman that came out this year. This movie, I almost turned off. It was that bad. How does it have a 90% rating? How? Did they change what these ratings mean? Is it all bots? How does it have a rating that is this high? Sorry, guys, I'm looking at something. Freight. I don't know why they're calling me. Anyway, how does it have something that's this high? It baffles me. It's potentially that I'm in the wrong and I have no idea what I'm talking about because I don't. But how do you go from Jonathan and I, when we watched this movie together, from potentially turning it off? Like Jonathan showed me a text message of a timestamp of where we were in the movie and was going to suggest turning it off because it was that bad, to it having a 90%. 83% on the tomato meter. I don't I don't understand. I would understand if it was like a 70, a 75, but do they not use the entirety of the scale anymore? Is everything compressed into the top 10% from 90 to 100, where if the movie is absolutely abysmal, it becomes a 90 to people? I don't What is happening with movies? And the other one, let's look at, maybe this one will be really bad. War of the Worlds. So the 2025, this one. So this one's more reflective of how bad it was, right? This one seems correct. Am I just not understanding the point that Superman was trying to get across? Because this movie was really bad, but I think Superman was also really bad. They were both really bad. So how does one have such a better outcome than the other? And this has always baffled me on things. Like, how do people go from this is the one of the best movies ever made to it was complete and utter garbage? So Robert says, "Good morning, Ryan. I liked Superman. I took it for what it was. Not great, but watchable." I understand that take. I get that. The baffling part is how does this movie have a 90%? That is the baffling part to me. I understand if you think it's watchable, you think it's a B. I get it. It's just not for me. I'm not saying everybody needs to agree with me. I'm simply want to talk about how you can get these opinions that differ so wildly. So wildly. A great example of this, and maybe this is nostalgia. A great example of this, of maybe how I'm on some type of spectrum, which I think I am actually. Uh, I do not really like, in really any way, the original Star Wars series. And I've said that on this stream before. I don't really like any of the original Star Wars 4, 5, and 6. I'm not a fan. I think they're cheesy. I think they're just I realized they came out a long time ago, so that was 50 years ago. Ooh, almost. 1977, I think, was the first one. So I understand that it could be that things are just old, but I've never liked them. Even when I watched them in the 80s and 90s, I've never liked them. They were always very eh. So maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm the odd one out where I'm the one that is differing from everybody else, and people are typing furiously at their keyboards for like, "Oh my gosh, you don't like Star Wars?" Yeah. I do like Star Wars. I don't like a lot of the Star Wars. Solo, I enjoyed. Rogue One, I enjoyed. It seems to be the really dark ones that I enjoy. Um, I haven't really liked many of the series that they've done. Mandalorian, the first series was good. Then I feel like it got a little weird. Travis says, "Have you watched K-pop Demon Hunter? I turned it off, but it has a 96% on Rotten Tomatoes." K-pop Demon Hunter, I have not watched it, so I can't really tell you any of my feelings on it. But it's my understanding that a big part of that movie was it was designed for kids. So there's potential that maybe you're not its primary audience, and maybe I'm not Superman's primary audience. Maybe I'm not Star Wars' primary audience. I don't know. But that movie seems to resonate a lot with kids, but I don't think kids are putting up reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. So how would it have a 96%? Mike Stevenson says, "I wanted to like Superman, but every time a studio wants to make a bonehead movie to reimagine, reinvent, and reboot of any character story, it's measured against everything that came before it." Yeah, I think it just did a lot of really dumb things. It's not that I don't like reimaginings of pieces of content. It's that it did a lot of really stupid things. And the video quality, and maybe this is why I really hated it. And if I watch it again on a different source or something, or on not as capable of a system, if I turn down the brightness because it's effectively SDR, um, it's possible that the video quality is what kept me out of it, because the HDR in that movie was atrocious. Everything was blown out. It was way too bright. It was not well mastered. So maybe if I just watch it like it was SDR, maybe I would enjoy it more. Maybe I need to try that. But I agree with you, Mike Stevens. It's possible that you're comparing against the measuring stick. I don't think that's true for a movie, and I'm just sticking with recent ones like War of the Worlds with Ice Cube, because the last movie that I'm comparing it to was 20 years ago, and I'm not even really comparing it. It was just a bad movie. Like, if you put an Amazon ad in a movie, it's just I'm not gonna receive it very well. The Sod Father says, "Seen one battle after another, has 8.1 on IMDb and 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. I thought the movie was horrible, so boring and long. No idea why it got such a great rating." I've heard the same thing. Not that it was bad, but I heard that it was really good. And this goes the same type of thing. Sinners is another great example. Sinners has great pieces in it, but I don't think it was this amazing piece of content that everybody thought it was. I appreciated that it was different, but there's no way that I'm going to rate Sinners a or S tier. I think it was a B with some great content. B to me does not mean B tier movie. A B tier movie to me is like what people traditionally think of like a B movie is, I don't know. What could I think of that's a B movie? I'd have to go through my list. I'm terrible with remembering right in the thick of things. So a B does not mean it's bad. It means that it's just a B. It was okay. A C movie is average. Like it's watchable, right? I didn't enjoy it. I didn't hate it. It's right in the middle. D, I'm starting to hate. F, no. War of the Worlds was below F. Superman, probably a D. Maybe I'll give it a C. No, I'll give it a D. If it fixed its HDR issues, well, we can revisit that movie. Um, but I think people have a tendency to, and maybe this is the problem. People have a tendency to compress their scales so that how they're viewing things through a lens is, well, I've only got 1 through 10. And 1 through 10 is 90 to 100. So that's where my scale is. 90 is the worst movie I've ever seen. I think maybe that is part of the problem. You're not using the entire scale, which makes it problematic to understand and relate to how people feel about content. So let's get back into the comments here. Roberts Mason says, "I saw Predator Badlands in IMAX. It was great, nice and loud, good story also." See, I've heard people on the flip side of that say that it was not great. I don't how can we differ this much? How can we I have not seen it. I want to see it. I have not seen it, but I will not see it in the theaters. I will wait for it to come out on Kaleidoscape. I will watch it because I love the Predator movies, and I will, even if they're awful. The Aliens versus Predator movies, some of them are C, some of them are worse, but I'll watch them regardless. It's that feeling. I just enjoy that universe. Did you all ride up to Iowa in Jonathan's RV? No, we took his Navigator. Everybody had plenty of room. There was no car trouble. There was no shenanigans on stories, though there was some running jokes, but there was no, we didn't run into any issues. Nothing came up. Mike Stevens says, "Can't studios just leave things alone and continue with the same that came before? Quit letting the bean counters and marketers make decisions, and I think audiences would become." I agree. Yeah. But you get a lot of it comes down to being safe, right? They want a safe moneymaker. And doing something that's new is not safe because you don't know what is going to happen. So doing safe and reigniting an existing franchise that has done well is going to earn X amount of money just because people are familiar with that particular franchise and they want to see the next story, even if that one sucks. What do I think of Andor? I never watched Andor. I haven't had time. I like to wait for my wife to watch things, and then she watches them on her own anyway and doesn't inform me. So maybe I just need to watch it, but I have not had time. And when I do have time, I have a tendency to forget. So Andor, I've heard good things about it. I heard it started kind of slow, but I do need to watch it. St. Louis sports audio fan says the latest Jurassic Park was terrible. It seems at a certain point they are looking to cash in on. Yeah, exactly. This is exactly what I just said. Let's look at what that movie did. What is it? Rebirth? How did that movie fare? I thought it was awful. And it has a 70%. And that movie was not good. I'd give it okay. That movie actually is more on par with my rating. So I can't fault it too much. Right? It got a 70%. It is closer to the expectation. I would have given that movie a 60. It's not the worst movie I've ever seen, but it's not good either. I disliked that movie. I did not enjoy it. C is I neither disliked or really liked. It was entirely watchable. And if my kids wanted to watch it, I would turn it on and they could watch it and I would do something else. This movie, I would actively say no. That movie is bad. And it's so bad that my 6-year-old daughter actually hasn't asked to rewatch it, which is funny. It's just a bad movie. I don't know of any good thing about that movie. It was cool to see that they were, taking the things that they learned about the dinosaurs, like the T-Rexes who were swimming and that stuff. That was cool to see, but that was just a bad movie. I am appreciative that is more on par to what my thoughts were. It makes me feel like maybe I'm missing something with Superman. Is there is it just not that bad and I have this misconstrued view on that movie? Mike says, just joined. I saw Frankenstein this weekend and I found it to be fantastic. I've heard it's good. That is a movie that I want to watch. That is certainly a movie that I want to watch. Stitch, they're mad. They're really mad. Oh, that was a running joke from our car ride. Stitch is Tim, and he joined us. Jonathan, at one point, there was a lot of traffic, and we were leaving somebody's house, and we were pulling out onto a main thoroughfare. And he took the approach of, I'm just going to go. They're going to have to worry about it. They're going to have to deal with it. And I said, they're going to be mad. They're going to be mad. They're going to be really mad. She's really mad. She's flipping you off. And I mean, he deserved it. He pulled out right in front of somebody. And oh, so there was several running jokes. Tiki time. And we can move into questions if anybody has any questions about equipment or about their setups or anything. I'm happy to answer those. Otherwise, it's just going to be a short stream. Does Mad VR enhance over the air or streaming sports events? It can. The problem with sports, and first off, the thing to consider about sports and over the air, is a lot of that content is at 60p. So the only way you're going to be able to really take advantage of that with Mad VR is if your display is able to do 120p. Mad VR is really not going to do a whole lot for the picture quality because one, it's horrifically compressed. And in a lot of situations, if you feed in really bad content, you're just going to get a polished turd. It's still a turd, and you may see some of the issues more glaringly because they're polished, in my opinion. It doesn't mean that that's what's going to happen, but it's something to consider. Sports content and over the air content's at 60p. This is the main thing. It's at 60p. If you want to take advantage of Mad VR enhancing some of that, you need at least 120p capable display because Mad VR can upconvert using Motion AI from lower frame rated content all the way to 120. So you can take that content if it's 60p and upscale it to 120. That is absolutely something you can do. It does help and it can make things better. It's not as drastic as going from something like 24p, right? Because that is a lower frame rate and it's going to be more of an impact if you increase it. exponentially. You're having to increase it 3 times already roughly to get to where the sports are. So, yes, it can. Just don't get overzealous on your ideas of what it's going to do to the content. It is not a magic bullet. It will do things to make it better, but it's not going to immediately make it like 4K movie watchable. Maybe the older cinema has got and the more films have been made, the harder it's become to seem fresh and original. In other words, like a cheese that's gotten bad, movies just over matured. Maybe, but there's a lot of things that you can do, right? Sinners is a great example of this. Sinners wasn't my favorite movie. I enjoyed it. My wife thought it was weird, but I enjoyed it. And it's totally different. You just have to be willing to take a risk. And studios are unwilling to take risks. There are a lot of potential opportunities out there. They just don't deviate from them. We keep going to the same thing, the same universe, the same everything. Like, reimagine it. Don't be afraid to do something different, right? But instead of creating maybe a new dinosaur movie with a different plot line and something different, we keep going back to Jurassic Park. Why? And then you have to continue with the same story in some way and all of this and just throw that out the window. Start over and don't feel like you need to do the same thing. But people won't do that. It's not safe. Not safe. And Ali, a little, says this well. Movies these days seem to be conceived by marketing departments rather than artists' vision and intent. Yes, because it's safe. Travis says, I just replaced the Onkyo RZ50 with a Denon X3800. I use A1 Evo acoustic tune and sounds good. Is it worth it to pick up the Dirac stack? You would need to measure and see if there's any issues. I always encourage people, don't chase what you don't know. If you don't know what you're missing, don't get something and expect some marvelous or noticeable change. It may get worse, and then you may be upset that you spent money. So don't just buy something under the assumption that, oh, if I buy this and do this, it's going to get better. Well, that's really only if you have issues in your room. Maybe you have a great room. Most rooms aren't, and Direct can help. But maybe you do have a great room, and Odyssey really isn't doing a whole lot. In that case, Direct, maybe not. So I would encourage you to measure, look at the issues that are going on in your room, and maybe instead of spending the money on Dirac, fix some issues that are going on in your room by adding acoustic treatments, diffusion, potentially more subs because you got the 4 sub outs now, that kind of thing. And instead of relying on computational power to fix things, fix the actual problem instead. That's my advice for sure. So see what you got, measure what you got, and then make a decision from there. Don't go in blind. That's a bad place to be. Don't do that. That is a recipe for being disappointed. I understand why you'd want to do it, but I don't. I would measure first. Measure first. Anything else before I let everybody go? We can just have a 30-minute stream. What should our next topic be? Talked about screen size. Talked about movies. I think the next topic should be like audiophile type speakers and commercial speakers and why the use case for both and maybe an approach to picking equipment. Maybe we should do that. I think that's a direction we should go. Robert says the reason why Sinners broke box office records is because it was original story. Hope Hollywood take notice and address the audience. Yes, please, please. This is something that needs to happen. Sinners, again, not my favorite movie. It was an okay movie. I'd give it a B with some S tier scenes. The music scene in there, oh, it was fantastic. So fantastic. That was great. Movie, nah. But it was original. It was different. It was enjoyable. It was enjoyable. Ryan B, are you figuring out reference level playing all speakers to get 85 at the same time, or just each speaker at 75? You should be. It should be all. Should be 85. And the reason 75 a is used is because companies like Massimo, Denon, um, and those guys found that 85 is too loud, so they lowered it. So it's still 85. It's just when you do your stuff on the Denon and Marantz, it's probably going to be 75. Some big sales are starting up, maybe touching on some of the sale items for a stream. Potentially, that would mean that I would have to know all of them. So if you guys have any sale items, put them in the comments. Like, just name what the company is and what the sale. I can go find it. But yeah, that's great. I can add them to the sale list. Willie Ellers says, "What are some top tier A movies for Ryan?" That is a good question. I mean, a lot of them are going to be your traditionals. Jurassic Park, the original Jurassic Park, is an S tier movie for me. S tier, just phenomenal, fantastic movie in every sense. It's borderline horror. Another S tier movie, A Quiet Place, just storytelling, and that was original. It was original, and Jurassic Park. Yes, it was based on a book, but it was original. There was nothing done before it. It was a risk. These are risks, and they were well executed. They're different, and I appreciate them. So those two are phenomenal. Aliens, fantastic. Alien, fantastic. Those are all, I mean, there's plenty more, but those are S tier in my eyes. And they are to a lot of other people. Big thank you doing this. It brings us together, sharing our passion for movies and home theater. So thank you. Absolutely. I enjoy it. I enjoy talking and interacting with all of you. I don't get on here and think, oh, I got to get on a stream. I get on here and enjoy the time that I get to spend with the community. Sharing, succeeding, failing, all of that, going through it with you guys. That's what it's all about. And that's what M-Wave's about. Speaking of M-Wave, there is M-Wave is done, not done, but it's announced on AVS Forum. So if you have interest in coming to M-Wave, tickets are available. We're going to be launching the VIP stuff hopefully this week. And tickets are $50. They were $75 last year. There's $50 for 2026. It's the third week in September. It's the weekend of my birthday. So third week in September, evening of the 19th and the 20th, evening of the 18th, and then the all day 19th and all day 20th. And there'll be plenty of stuff. We already got plenty of vendors that are signing up. I got to update some things on the vendor list, but it'll fill up here before too long. So if you guys have any interest in coming to M-Wave, I would encourage you to take a look at midwestavexperience.net. Take a look and encourage you to come because it is an experience unlike any other. Anybody that's been can tell you it's worth going to. It is a lot of fun. So that has been announced. Again, you can go to midwestavexperience.net and check that out. Get tickets if you'd like to go. And let me know if you have any questions. 2 weeks ago, St. Louis Audio Fan, I implemented a near-field sub. It was easily the best ad in a while. Thanks to all you guys who made config videos. It took a long time to dial it in. Once there, nothing going away. It's worth it. Near field is so nice. So nice. I don't think I would ever not have one. Mine's not traditional because it's a 64 and it's not directly behind the seat, but it does give you the near field feel. Billy, previously had an LS 12,000 moved to JVC NZ7, 100% blacked out velvet room. I feel it's better in every way apart from motion. Would a Mad VR bridge that gap? I only upgrade every 5 to 10 years. Previously had an LS 12,000 moved to JVC NZ7, 100% blacked out velvet room. I feel it's better in every way. Yeah, a Mad VR is going to help with that. Mad VR is going to make every technical software part of that better because it is better. and which one you go to depends on what your needs are. So, yes, that will absolutely help. On the content, but if you have 14 speakers playing at 85, each speaker will be very low. That is not necessarily true. Remember that it's how I would calibrate it so that each okay, I think I misspoke when I said all speakers. You don't wanna turn all your speakers on and have them do it in a test tone at 85. That's not what I meant. What I meant is your average when content is playing is 85, right? So that's a good benchmark if you wanted to use reference as a benchmark, and then your peaks are 105. Does not mean that's how content is or what it was mastered at. It's just a good reference point, recommendation for things. So if you want to make sure your speakers are capable of it, because a lot of times it is one speaker playing an object or one thing at X SPL, each speaker needs to be able to play 85 and 105 at the main listening position. Again, that is not a standard. It is a recommendation, Jonathan. Uh, so 85 and 105 for each speaker. I saw something that said route all to channel 1 and play them with pink noise so it hits 85. Not you mean just out of that one speaker? If so, yeah, you want that speaker to play at 85 for average, and then 105 for peaks. And then you add the subs and it's 10 dB above that. So 115. Hopefully that answers it. Um, no, you would not want all of your speakers playing the same content because they're never going to do that in a theater. You don't do that. Your speakers are never going to be really playing the same content, and you need each speaker to be able to do 85 and then 105. Recommended. So, like, if you go back and you look at each speaker from a test tone perspective, they should play each one individually at 85 when you put on pink full band pink noise. Billy Bomber, yeah, no problem. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Surprised you're in from 2:30, middle of the workday. My workday I haven't jumped on yet. I mean, I've already answered emails while I was getting the kids ready for school, but haven't jumped on to the full workday yet. I got a call coming up here in about an hour with somebody to help them with Mad VR. But yeah, thanks for joining us. Hopefully you enjoy it. And if you have any questions in the future, do not hesitate to either put them in comments, put them into a future stream. That's what it's here for. Absolutely. So next stream, we're going to talk about audiophile versus pro speakers and why you would choose either one. And really, I think it's going to be more important to talk about my recommendations for picking equipment. Tiki Time says, "Did you find a Z06 to buy? Aren't you like 6'5"? Won't you be sitting in the engine compartment?" Um, so one of my friends has a C6, and the cockpit is about the same. So I sat in his, and I can fit. That's not an issue. We don't know what we're gonna do. I was looking for one. I'm still open to looking for one. Um, we may go do something else, a different direction. Hopefully, I'll have some more information about that soon. I need to meet with a gentleman this week about a possible direction. So we'll see. We will see. But I do fit. You fit in more cars than you think you would. It's more how you get in them. That's the problem. Once you're in, you're usually okay. The Lotus would have been tough. I would have had to modify things, and that was the plan. I can get into the C7. I can't really drive a manual C7 because of how my legs are. That would be hard. I don't have enough room in the footwells to be able to make that work, but I can be perfectly comfortable doing an automatic with paddle shifters. That's not an issue. And I would frankly, this is going to sound blasphemous. I would rather do that anyway. I am not caught up on the nostalgia of manual, even though that can be more fun. Automatics are fine with me. What paddle shifters? I don't want to drive around in a straight up automatic, but a paddle shifter, like, um, yeah, that's perfectly fine. Sounds like I need a Jeep. We thought about getting a Jeep. It's not for us. Not our cup of tea. We've got an Explorer. We've got a ST Explorer. Um, so we've got some fun, like bigger vehicles, but no, the Jeep's not for me. Not saying it's bad, it's just not my thing. And that's okay. So next stream, when will the next stream be? When do we want to do that? Let's do we'll do Thursday. So Thursday, the next stream is going to be equipment selection. So we'll talk about that on Thursday. But anyway, guys, hopefully you have a good time out there. Enjoy your home theater journeys. I am going to go try and fix some rattles in my room. I got a couple that I got to track down. So I'm going to go try and do that. I'm going to go fix those and get to work. So I will see you guys all on Thursday. We're going to talk about equipment selection and how and what things to think about. So I will see you guys Thursday, the 20th for that. Stay safe, enjoy the home theater journey, and I'll see you guys in the next one.